The Battle of Hamburg was one of the last battles of World War II, where the remaining troops of the German 1st Parachute Army fought the British VIII Corps for the control of Hamburg, between the 18th of April and the 3rd of May 1945. British troops were met with fierce resistance inside the city, as Hamburg was the last significant remaining pocket of resistance in the north. Once the British had captured the city, they continued their advance northeast and sealed off the remnants of the 1st Parachute Army and Army Group Northwest in the Jutland Peninsula. Background: after the Western Allies crossed the River Rhine, the German armies in the west began to fall apart. Army Group B, under the command of Walter Model, was the last effective German defense in the west. However, the Army Group, consisting of 3 armies, were encircled and captured by the 1st and 9th American armies, thus ending effective German resistance in the west. After the defeat of Army Group B, the Germans were only able to organize resistance in a few cities and were not able to communicate with each other very well. The Allied armies started a general advance across Germany, with the Americans pushing the center and the British holding the northern flank. The main British thrust came from the British Second Army, under the command of Lieutenant General Miles C. Dempsey. The army's objective was to advance across northern Germany and push on to Berlin. The British came across little resistance, compared to the Americans further south, and advanced at a steady and fast pace. The 1st Parachute Army and the newly formed Army Group Northwest were the last German forces in the north. As the British continued their advance, the German High Command in Berlin, which was under siege by the Soviet Red Army, refused to send reinforcements. The Germans managed to resist the British in Bremen for a week. The surviving troops retreated to the Jutland Peninsula. The last remaining defense was the city of Hamburg, and the Germans sought to make a final stand there. After capturing Soltor, the British 7th Armoured Division of the 8th Corps was poised to assault the city. Battle. Preliminary moves. The British advance towards Hamburg was spearheaded by the 7th Armoured Division, attacking Harburg and advancing to the River Elbe across from Hamburg, with the 15th Infantry Division assaulting the town of Uelzen to the south of the city. Elements of the 12th Corps attacked Hamburg itself from the northwest. On the way to Harburg, the 7th Division captured Vella and Tostedt on the 18th of April and advanced into Hollenstadt the next day. By this time, the Germans had built up defenses in Harburg as the British moved closer. On the 20th of April, the division captured Dersdorf, 8 miles west of the city. The RAF forward observation officers reached the Elbe and began to direct artillery fire upon troops and trains on the other side of the river. On the same day, the 131st Infantry Brigade took Warendorf, just 2 miles south of Harburg. The division halted the advance for 5 days just short of Hamburg. It set up a perimeter and prepared for its assault on the city. However, on the 26th of April, the 12th SS Regiment, supported by troops of the Hitler Youth, sailors and policemen, counter-attacked at Warendorf. They were supported by 88mm guns and 75mm howitzers and reached the town center, but were pushed back once British tanks arrived. The battle continued until the next day, when the Germans retreated back to Harburg, leaving 60 dead and losing 70 men as prisoners. Entering the city on the 28th of April, the British began their assault on the city. The 5th Royal Tank Regiment, 9th Durham Light Infantry and 1st Rifle Brigade captured Gesterberg and Ittfeld, where the Autobahn was. Nevertheless, the Germans blew up parts of the Autobahn, slowing the British advance. Once the British entered Hamburg, they were met with fierce resistance and house-to-house combat as the Germans would not surrender. By this time, the troops of the 1st Parachute Army were a mix of SS paratroopers, Volkssturm, along with regular Wehrmacht soldiers, supported by sailors, police, firemen and Hitler Youth. As the advance through the city continued, German resistance grew fiercer. They were desperately fighting to recross the Autobahn back into Hamburg. Later that day, the first British troops crossed the Elbe into Hamburg itself. 88mm guns were spread around the city but became ineffective as the battle progressed. Many German units, including a tank destroyer battalion, a Hungarian SS unit and many Panzer-forced anti-tank troops were still located in the woods south of Hamburg, as the British had bypassed the area and were now mopping it up. The 53rd Division, supported by the 1st Royal Tank Regiment, assaulted the woods and captured all remaining German troops, a total of 2,000 men. As the battle continued, the German defenses started to disintegrate. On the 30th of April, Hitler committed suicide in Berlin, and Grand Admiral Karl Donitz, who was commanding forces in the north, ordered General W.wolny to discuss surrendering the city to the British. Wolny, along with a small German delegation, arrived at Division HQ on the 2nd of May and formally surrendered Hamburg on the 3rd. The same day the 7th Division entered the devastated city. Aftermath. Hamburg was the last remaining defense for the Germans in the north. After the battle, the surviving troops of the 1st Parachute Army along with Army Group Northwest retreated into the Jutland Peninsula. Most of them retreated to Kiel, where they met soldiers of the ailing Army Group Vistula, who were fleeing from the Soviets on the Eastern Front. The 7th Armored Division advanced unopposed to Lübeck, where news of the German surrender came on the 4th of May.